Howdy there, and welcome to the Joy of Creation. We're already pretty familiar with Nixon and his work. I myself have already reviewed the Joy of Creation, so if you're curious, go check the video out. And just in general, in this fandom, the Joy of Creation is probably the most popular fan game out there. If you don't know what it is, then you're either not part of the fandom or you're simply been living under a rock for the past few years. So I don't think it's necessary to cover the usual info about the creator of the game that we usually need to, because he's just that popular here around. So before I jump into the video, instead of talking about him, I'll instead just mention one quick little thing. This video's format will be a little different to the usual. While the first half will still be the usual summary style of video that I usually do, I'm going to actually try and touch upon a more deeper level this game as a whole, and actually answer the question on the title for once, because I don't usually do that. But that's enough of my rambling, let's just dive in. The Joy of Creation starts with an interesting opening. A cutscene, an option to contemplate, appears on screen, and if you click, you'll be gifted with dialogue. Clicking on contemplate again and again and again will open up more options, which you'll then click on those options, opening up more dialogue options. Or well, not dialogue, but just options to do these things here. These sentences end up forming what I can only describe as a poem, and what may perhaps be a little bit of lore. Perhaps it's good to write this down one day so that whenever I come back to the full game, perhaps this will be a clue into what may be deeper into the game. A sudden emergence. A need to know more. Strange vision lacking description. Dots against the void. The world turns for me. A path. A destination. Did that get you? No? Me neither. The main character's computer suddenly crashes, leaving us in perplexion to what that all meant. Slowly then we turn into the vision of the main character of the game, who, like us, questions the dialogue. And finally, we're put into the game. Located at a makeshift office in the character's home, in the middle of it all was set up with a sick gaming PC. Pressing on it will allow us to use the house's cameras, showing what is inside. Both the two doors and the window to your right. We will get to what exactly we use these cameras for in a bit. When walking forward and taking a left to this part of the house, you'll be presented with the fuse box. You may be confused on how any of this works, but it's very simple. All you need to do is just get a fuse and click on whatever you want to recharge. You'll find the fuses around the house, in closets and drawers. These are the main game mechanics that you use to maintain your office, but of course it isn't all there is to the game, because we obviously need to defend ourselves from the animatronics. Which, as you would probably expect, are the 4 original animatronics from the past 4 Joy of Creation games. Although, towards the end, we do see a different character, which I'm guessing is the creation itself, which is also the thing that calls us the creator at the beginning of the game. But this is just a guess. To counter Freddy, you'll have to check the cameras, to first locate where Freddy is at, and then flash in the direction that he is in and stop him for a bit. Bonnie, however, works as a way to stop you from having total control over the situation. With him, you run the risk of whenever going to the camera, seeing him. The result? Motherfucker. Foxy will appear on the cameras too, and whenever he does, don't go to the door, because if you do, he'll kill you. Instead, you want to focus on his eyes a few times until he finally leaves on the cameras. And finally we have Chica, which at first can look very daunting, but is actually very simple. She'll appear very weirdly on top of your ceiling, where you then just have to look around the office for a bit for her cupcake, flash it a few times, and then finally, she goes away. Although something that I've noticed that is either big coincidence or just very good timing by the creator, from what I've seen, Chica comes right as either your office is about to run out of power or as your flashlight's about to run out of power. I've seen it happen a lot of times with different content creators having this, but this may just be a simple coincidence, but perhaps it's a little bit more smartness than we give the creator credit for. These are the main threats of the game. When all said and done, the game is very simple, but very fun. I spent what I thought was enough time to get a full grasp of the game's mechanics and quality, and it really is all great. There isn't a gripe that I really have with the game. Sure, it does suffer from FNAF's usual problem of diminishing with fun as you go more and more into the game, but this is really an issue with every FNAF fan game out there, and really something that I think is impossible to solve. In usual Joy of Creation style, the visuals and sound design of the game are fucking astounding. The gameplays are incredible, and the sound design, besides not really being as great as FNAF 1 and 4, which isn't all that big of a deal, it is still very good. Having you have to pay attention to every single little bit of sound to really keep a track of what is going on around you. Because simply trying to keep a track of everything around you with only sight will not lead to the best of results. Both the graphics and audio really do mix together to serve an amazing atmosphere, which I unfortunately don't find scary. And I know, it's kind of become a cliche at this point that I really don't feel scared when playing any of these games, but I will note something. In my first playthrough, I did feel a little uneasy, which is unusual for a FNAF fan game. Not a single game that's done this so far in my entire career. Really taking a look at what the Joy of Creation has to offer, despite it just being a reboot, which is maybe perhaps something I should have mentioned earlier, you can't help but feel excited for what is to come. But this isn't what I think matters out of all of this, simply not. The release of this demo I think goes much beyond just the Joy of Creation itself, going much beyond Nixon and his work, but instead going as far as the entire Fazbear Fanverse initiative. Having been almost 3 years now with the only actual game released being One Night at Flumpty's 3, you really can't help but feel that the hype and excitement that we had for these games that were all planned and eased has died down. With nothing except teasers and screenshots, really we haven't seen much. This demo being released finally gives us a look at what to expect from the quality of the games in the works right now, but even still, the hype, as I've said, is at an all-time low. And I really am beginning to question just if 2025 really will be the year where it will be make it or break it for many of these games. Whether they'll have a similar path to the Joy of Creation has had, or if, just like its brother, they'll even have a path at all. So if I swap this around, then it'll start working again. I'm a fucking genius, honestly. I guess he's gonna be right here, just staring into the... That is the most hilarious thing a game has ever done to me.